So I'm going to show you how much I made in my first year as a coach and also how much I am making now coming into my second year. To give you some background, I was a designer in tech. I had started my own business, done freelance. And in that career, I was making six figures. Then I transitioned into teaching and into speaking. So I was a freelancer speaking, and I was making about like 70K doing that. And I liked it better. And then I became a speaking coach last year. January of last year, I started working on my first program. I had already done a pilot program for 3 weeks. But this was my first like actual program that I was selling outside of the pilot. And I worked on it from January, February, launched it in March. And so this is how much I made. So in January and February, I literally made no money because I was building out my program and my idea for my program. Then in March, I made $2,400. And this was through one-on-one work where I was like practicing what I was like practicing my techniques and stuff like that. So that was my pilot. So in Q1, I really made just $2,400. In Q2, I made significantly more, $12,652 for those 3 months. And then Q3 was, I made $15,972. And then Q4 at the end, I made $9,850. So all in all, it's actually 40,000. It's not this amount. It's 40,974. So almost 42,000 in my first year. Now I want to be really clear. This is before tax. So I still have to get taxed on all of this money. This is not my salary. This is how much the business is making. And then I get a smaller portion of what the business makes. So this is significantly less than what I was making as a designer, significantly less than what I was making as a speaker. But I love coaching and I love having my own business. And so when I think it's really hard because I've had to really separate myself from thinking, oh, look how much you were making in a salary. You're making so much less. But when I think about it for like a first year of a new business, most businesses lose money in their first few years of starting. And so actually I made a decent amount, like a really good amount to be proud of ultimately for starting a new business. But I think that it's really important to share this because like there's so many coaches and people out there who promote that you make like a lot of money. And like you could be making $10,000 every month from this program. And I really think that actually what I made for around, 40,000 is actually significantly more than a majority of people when they first start their business and first start a coaching business. Because I already had a following. I already had built up for 3 or 4 years, on Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn. Like on LinkedIn, I have like 10,000 followers and 15,000 followers on Instagram, like 6,000 followers on YouTube. And I had already built an email list of 3,000 at this point, just doing events. So transitioning to, I had sold like $25 little courses before. So transitioning from that to a coach and asking people, to participate in my programs, I already had an audience. So I think that like that's what gave me the leg up. And I don't think that when people see this, that they think, oh my God, I didn't even make $40,000 in my first year. It's because most likely you already didn't have a following and built that up for many years. And there's no shame in that. You're starting now potentially from starting a business and starting a following and starting to do marketing and sales and starting to understand how to speak better, to communicate better and build programs or whatever it is, right? There's so much that you're doing at once, and you can't do it all at the same time. I really believe you can. Like, I'm just trying to do one thing at a time, right? Trying to understand, how do I do email marketing? How do I do selling on social media? How do I know how to create a program? How do I create multiple offers? How do I sell a one-on-one program versus a group program? There's complexities, and it is challenging. And so anyways, I just want to share this for transparency of, some people are going to say that's so small, that is ridiculous. I would never, I could never live off that, and I could never imagine making that salary. Like, I need the salary I have, and that's totally fair. Or some people who start a business, they might be like, oh, I made so much more than that. But I'm going to say a majority of businesses, coaches and people who don't have a following stuff are probably going to be making significantly less than this. And I want that transparency, because everyone thinks, oh, when I start a business, like, I'm going to just be able to, quit my job and just like start making a lot of money. Something I tell myself constantly is I'm in it for the long game. And the only way to play in the long game is if you actually like what you're doing a lot. You have to really, really love it, because it's not worth doing. It's not worth reducing your salary for many, many years if you don't like it, if you don't really like obsess with what you're doing. I'm going to share my what I made this year in just a second. So that's kind of like my 2 cents on it, because I want to make sure that, there's going to be different feelings when people look at the amount of money I make. And so I just want to be like cognizant of the fact that it's all good. It's all good. Like, any amount of money you make, if you make like $5,000, $1,000 in your business the first year, like, hell yeah, you are $1,000 more than the last year. And that's the approach I've been taking for this year as well. So let me show you. So this year in Q1, I have made projecting of almost 14,500 basically. And this is, you would think, okay, that's not that much money across 3 months, what it's like on averaging, like what, 4,500 per month or something like that. Still not a ton, but I look at this as a business, which is not like from a salary perspective, like, oh, I'm looking at how much money I'm making compared to where I was years ago. I'm looking at where I was last year. So in Q1 of last year, I only made $2,400. So it's significantly more than my Q1 of last year. So when you transition from being a salaried employee to running a business, you can't look at income and salary in the same way. You want to look at, like, so when an investor is looking at a company, any business, and they're thinking about investing, and what they're looking at is how much more money, like, are you making in compared to the previous years, right? They want to see growth. That's what they're looking for. So that's what we want to look in for ourselves, not like exactly how much money, but are we having growth overall? And even if it's a small amount. And I can't look at just like January. I like to look at it by the quarter or every 6 months or 1 year. Like, am I making more money? Am I still growing in some way? Ideally financially. And that's what I look for.